Hi everyone, I'm Dr.A.NAGALAXMI, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce with Finance in Dr.S.N.S.RAJALAXMI College of Arts and Science, Autonomous, Coimbatore. I'm here to make an explanation in the course Cost and Management Systems and in the unit Materials. The concept is, topic is expenses. First, we should know what is meant by direct expenses. As we already saw, all the direct material, labor, and expenses constitute prime cost. So, here now we are going to see what is a direct expense. All direct cost other than direct material and direct labor cost are termed as direct expenses. So, direct material to be excluded, direct labor to be excluded, remaining expenses, remaining cost incurred in manufacturing, all those costs are termed as direct cost or direct expenses. It can be directly allocated to a particular product, job, or process. It varies directly with the volume of output. So it varies when, as I said earlier, if volume of output is more, direct cost will also be, direct expenses will also be more. If the volume of output is less, the direct expenses will be less. Example, there is an example for that. Excise duty and royalty based on output. Here, hiring charges of machine, tools, etc., cost of special designs, etc. So, how much quantity we have, for that we will be paying the tax. How much quantity we extract from the mine or from the land of a lease, for that we will be paying the royalty. So based upon the volume of output, we will be making the cost. That cost is said to be direct expenses. Now we are going to see what is meant by indirect expense, just vice versa of direct expense. So all indirect cost other than indirect material, indirect labor cost are termed as indirect expenses. It cannot be directly allocated to a particular product, job, or process. It is not directly involved in the manufacturing of a product. It may or may not vary directly with the volume of output. As direct material is directly connected with production, so based on the volume of output, it will vary. But here, this indirect material may or may not vary with the volume of, directly with the volume of output. Example, rent, rates and taxes, repair, insurance, depreciation, etc. So, for the building what we hired for our manufacturing purpose, if the volume of output is more or less, we have to pay the same fixed rate. If the machinery gets repaired, we have to spend the amount for repairing the machinery. It does not connect with the volume of output. Okay, so here these are the expenses which will be incurred without having direct contact with the volume of output. Those expenses and those costs is said to be indirect expenses. Now we are going to see what is meant by overheads on cost or indirect cost. So overheads are on cost or indirect cost. See, overheads means, as we know, direct material plus direct labor plus direct expenses together constitute prime cost. Likewise, indirect material plus indirect labor plus indirect expenses constitute overheads. Now we should know what is meant by administrative overhead. Aggregate of indirect material cost, indirect labor cost and indirect expenses incurred by administrative department is said to be administrative overhead. Example, cost of pricing, postage of administrative department, salary of managing director, rent, rates, taxes to be of the building. These are said to be the, of the building is said to be the administrative overheads. So in order to make the production success, what all the supportive expenses happens, that expenses are said to be, that is expenses incurred in administrative department, that expenses is said to be administrative overheads. Now we are here to see selling overheads. So aggregate of indirect material, indirect material cost, indirect labor cost and indirect expenses incurred by sales department. Sales department means after making the finished product is ready for sale, what are all the expenses incurred in sales department to sell that product, that cost is said to be overheads. All the indirect material, indirect labor, indirect expenses is said to be selling overheads. Example, cost of pricing, postage of sales department, salary of sales director, rent, rates, taxes of sales department, showroom, advertisement. These things are said to be selling overheads. Next is the distribution overheads, aggregate of indirect material cost, indirect labor cost and indirect expenses incurred by distribution department. Distribution is, it is ready for sale. It has to be taken to the point where the consumers or customers will come and buy the product. That is said to be, those cost is said to be distribution, those cost is said to be distribution overheads. Example, cost of printing, postage of the distribution department, salary of staffs of distribution department, rent, rates, taxes of distribution department, freight and carriage outwards. These cost is said to be the distribution overheads. Thank you. So we got a clear idea about what is expense, the direct expense, what is an indirect expense, what all the things constituted in indirect expense. Then we got the knowledge about what is overhead. Thank you for patience listening.